Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 182 at scavengerlife.com. And let's start the podcast.
So here we go. Okay, we're sitting in our house and it's nice and clean. We'd been working for the past basically a couple months to clear out all the inventory in our house.
Yeah, it was piling up. That. Yeah.
Carpets are vacuumed, our bags are packed, and we're about to hop on a plane to go down to Colombia for 10 days.
Yes, so we are trying to record this before we go.
Yeah, we like to try and keep this pretty seamless, so we wanted to do this before we left, and then we'll do one of these while we're in Colombia too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Which will be cool.
Yeah, that will be fun. We can.
Although you won't see anything, you'll just hear us.
It'll be cool to hear us in another place.
So it's interesting. So this is the week after last week where we were trying to be open and honest that we had a really slow week.
Oh, bad week. Oh, it was horrible.
It was causing us a little bit of stress, as anyone that runs your own business and depends on this income would feel like. Before we get into our numbers for this week, I was thinking back and I listened to our podcast that we did this last week, and it is interesting that, even though I was worried and I was trying to share and express my fear, although I think I might have overplayed it a little bit. People were very kind in the comments, oh, I'm so sorry. We are looking for sympathy. I mean, this is just the way it is.
It's just, we need people to know that, it's not like we have crazy awesome weeks every week. That's why we post our numbers.
Yeah, I watch some people on YouTube and you just assume, and maybe they just have great week after great week after, and they're making money and just expanding their empire. Not like that for us,
Yeah.
But the good thing is, even last week, regardless of how slow it was, we made exactly about how much we needed to make. We need to make about $100 a day.
Right.
That's about our minimum to pay our bills.
Right.
So anything over $100 is a bonus.
Right. But we like to make more than $100.
Yeah. I think one thing that happens to us is a lot of people, when you're making a certain amount of income and then suddenly that slow week hits, it just kind of puts a bump in the road, Yeah. And also, we kind of plan all these cool ideas we have based on all this money it's making. And then when we're just making just enough to get by, it's kind of
it slows all the plans down.
A surprise. Yeah, we're we wanted to, buy this thing, or we wanted to, pay off this one debt.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, having a slow week, not having a steady paycheck is so much better than having a job that I have to go to.
Oh, yeah.
Day.
I mean, it definitely feels scary and bad sometimes, and you're like, oh, God, do I have to go get an office job? That's the worst thing to think of.
I think that's really, if you had a scale in front of you, having a regular job is good in the sense of, every 2 weeks, you're going to get an exact amount of cash that you can plan for.
Yeah.
But then you also have to wake up early often, and you got to show up and be there and take orders. But then if you have your eBay business over here, the bad part is you never know week to week what you're going to make, Right. There's no guarantee.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that freedom of just having that business,
Yeah.
And I think too, we like to work hard.
Yeah.
But I feel when I worked hard for somebody else, I guess, there's the hope you get a promotion or you get a raise.
Right.
But that didn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Whereas I like eBay because often the amount of work we put into it, the more we can make. And and I like that.
That's control.
And I like that ability that I could make more than just a certain amount.
Right.
Sometimes it might be less if it's a slow week.
Right.
But very often
it can be more
if we scavenge the right way or find the right thing. Or,
list.
Because I always felt when I had a job, I felt like I was treading a water.
Right.
Because
you don't have control over, will you get a promotion? Will you get to be a director of such and such?
Well, I always felt too is just, I feel for whatever money I made, I really feel like I always only had like a small sliver of extra income that, it was hard to save or to invest or, the only good part about it was, I guess, and I will say this, I was really good. I had them always take out a part of my paycheck every month.
Me too.
To put into a 401k, and I always had them take out the maximum because they would like match it a certain percentage.
You know what's really funny? Because in my office job, it was a cool office job, but it was I worked at a television station. So did you. And we both, even when we were younger, had the insight to do that because I did that too. I said, take out this amount and put it in this savings account and then just give me the rest to like spend on bills and whatever. Right. And that amount of money is what I took out for us to buy our house. Right. That is literally
mine too. I mean, both of us cashed out those IRAs, those or the 401ks.
Those savings accounts. It's just interesting because I feel like two things. This is getting a little philosophical too, but young people aren't taught to do that, which they should be taught to do things like that in school. Like actual high school should have. Right. We had business classes in high school, so we kind of like had a little bit of that. But and then the second thing is those jobs that we had that interview with my mom and Mark had a job. And, several people in that generation, several million people in that generation had jobs where they worked there for most of their life and have a pension. Right. There's no such thing as that anymore. Right. I think there's a disconnect between that generation and our generation where they think why don't you just go out and get a good job? Those things almost literally do not exist anymore.
Yeah. Right.
So for our generation and younger, the fact that you need to have all these different incomes and we sell on eBay and we have a rental and we, do video work, that is normal now. So it's interesting to hear, from people who are of that generation.
The boomers,
basically, who have such a different perspective on, what work was. Some do.
Some of them are struggling just as much as any of us.
No, it's true. But I feel like the opportunities for a steady office job that has, all these benefits and a pension and whatever, that just is not something that our generation is gonna have.
I think like we said, there are corporate jobs that, we both had where you get a 401k, that's what it's replaced the pension with.
Right.
So you put in a certain amount of money and then they would match it or not.
Yeah, but it
wouldn't match, but they would put in its percentage, and that's so that is one thing that I do kind of miss about those jobs, because it was kind of cool to be able to save up that kind of cash quickly. But I do like eBay just in the sense of there's the possibility to get more money than we had expected because we worked extra hard or we made the right choices of stuff to spend.
You can have some kind of control over
and I think that's what kind of my when I was last week, I wasn't trying to overdo it, but I was just trying to share my disappointment with our numbers, because we aren't selling on eBay just to get by. We aren't just trying to barely just pay our bills. The point of this is to thrive and to grow and to do other kinds of cool stuff. So that's why we always focus on numbers, because really that's what it comes down to. It's not just I sold this one thing and that's all I'm focused on. It's it's got to be the whole. I feel like I always have to have the big picture, because that's really where it all kind of, the big picture allows us to buy another house or to travel or to,
and if you don't
pay off all of our debt.
If you don't have the big picture on a week like last week, you can really crash and burn or feel like that. If you're not thinking of, okay, next week and the week after and next month and then
I think the other thing is that I think we're both kind of overachievers, and I only say that because we expect a lot from ourselves. And now that it's finished a rental, and that's going to start making some money. In my mind, as crazy as it sounds, I want to pay off all of our debt
Yeah.
in 2 years.
Yeah, that does sound crazy.
It's crazy, but like that's a kind of goals I like to push for ourselves is like, how do we pay off our mortgage that quickly? Because God, I think if we could pay off our mortgage,
all that money you spend on your mortgage,
it's almost like we'd be retired,
Yeah,
it'd be
it's crazy.
It'd be like you're done, and then it's just like you're just living.
It's those stupid monthly payments that are so high. It's just like
we're in the middle of doing our taxes right now. We just gave all of our info to our accountant, and I'm sure many of you are either thinking of doing this, or if you aren't, you are doing it. And we got a thing from our bank. I think we paid like what, $10,000 in interest.
It was all said and done. It was $11,000.
And so that's just
you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, those bastards.
Although it's funny, I was talking to my dad yesterday, and he mentioned how he bought his first house in the early '80s,
right?
When he was like younger than I am. And,
yeah.
He says at that time interest rates were like 18%. So he bought a house.
Isn't that insane?
For 18%. I mean, I was trying to do the numbers on that.
That's like putting it on a credit card, basically.
And that was normal. And I mean, I was doing these numbers. It's almost like it'd be almost impossible to pay off the house, or you'd almost pay the house 4 times over with that much interest.
That's so crazy.
I do feel lucky that we have as low interest as we have.
Yeah, but it's still too high. Damn it.
All right, so
okay,
that's our beginning of this whole thing. So let's get down to what are the actual numbers. So this week was better. We grossed, and this is gross profit. It's before inventory expenses and stuff. Was $1,200.
Yeah.
So
still not amazing.
So last week we made like $700. So
it was like $800.
But $1,200 gets better. We feel real good if we can make basically $200 a day. So that would be about $1,400.
Right. So this is getting close.
That's when we're like paying off all our bills, but then we're also building up a savings that we can throw at, as it was a debt or anything. So we sold 31 items.
And the average price was $37. So
right.
I have noticed that, though it's not like a ton of items, the prices were higher. Although there were still a lot of low-priced items.
I mean, so we sold 10 things under $30.
Okay.
So it was a third. I think last week it was like...
Two-thirds.
Two-thirds.
Oh, my God, yeah.
So, although we only sold one thing over $75.
Right.
So we didn't have any... those big sales that we love of like $300 and $400 and $500.
Yeah.
So really, it was in that kind of sweet spot of like over $30.
Yeah. $30, $40, $50.
Yeah. And actually, in your the video you made of what sold, like the specific items, it was interesting. We sold some really cool items for really good prices.
There was a hat I sold for $50.
Yeah.
A hat.
But you know what? It was like an old...
it's a chewing tobacco
hat, which is like, that's what we find where we live, some grandpa had that. But you know what? The guy that bought it wrote us a message and said, my grandfather owned that hat.
Yes.
I'm so excited to get this because it just reminds him of hanging out with his grandfather.
And he's like, I'll totally pay $50 for that. And that is exactly who I was selling that to.
But people are like, oh, I can't believe you did that. But just think of it. When guys go to like the sports stores, they'll easily throw down $50 for a Cincinnati Bengals hat or something. So
Cincinnati Bengals.
Whatever.
I love the sports teams, man. They kill me.
Yep.
Go Pats!
Yep.
Yes, Super Bowl champions.
We do not care about football.
I don't care about sports, but I am from Boston, so I do know what they're feeling like.
Yeah. But so that was cool. I mean, we were selling some solid things. We still had a couple days where we made barely, not even $100, but like yesterday, we made $300. So
yeah. It's just that thing where it's just up and down.
And now we have no way to know if this works. But Ryan was a listing this week, and you were listing a lot, and we've been selling well.
I personally do not think that it is connected that closely. I think that would be the most ridiculous algorithm.
Yeah.
It would be like if you Googled your website, it's going to come to the top of Google. Right. Well, that's not how Google works because they're smarter than that.
Right. I mean, like good search terms is what brings it up. We don't know, but we always say always be
listing anyway.
Because if anything, that's the only control we do have, Right. So when we're getting concerned about is low sales, the only power we have is like we'll just
put stuff online.
Put more stuff on our shelves,
pipeline.
on our virtual shelves, on the pipeline,
shoveling crap into the pipeline,
the coal into the furnace. All these metaphors,
And the thing was too, there were a couple people, that would buy something.
Oh yeah,
like someone bought a pair of shoes for $50 and immediately said, oops, I bought this by accident.
Yeah.
How you can buy something by accident is beyond me.
I think it's just because when it is slow like that, we get more...
hungry. We're more hungry.
Yeah, we get more hungry, and also we're more aware of like what's going on.
Every sale.
So like we would get this sale. It happened twice. Someone bought a pair of glasses, and we're like, cool, that's $80. And then they immediately wrote back, oh, it's what I thought it was. Please cancel it. And you're like...
$80.
It's almost like a joke.
And the thing that sucks is they already paid.
Yeah.
You're like, you even went through and it is pay immediately, but, it's not like they were offers and they're like, oh, I didn't mean to. Yeah. They're like, I went through and I paid and now I don't want it. Oh, man.
Yep.
But what can you do?
So the cool thing is because we've been posting our numbers now since we started the blog a couple of years ago, it's really easy for us to go back and look and see what I posted. So I went on the blog and I looked at, February of last year, 2014. Right. So we sold 38 items.
Right.
And made about $1,300.
So that's a similar week.
So it's pretty similar.
Average price was $35.
Right.
So, and the highest thing was a $65 needlepoint, and the highest thing we sold this week was like $80. So that's interesting.
So it is interesting to see, I think that helped me also just look at, okay, so things haven't changed, dramatically.
It's not like we had a $3,000.
Although again, last week making barely $800, that was definitely a slow
week.
Like a year ago is last week, we made over $2,000. It was one of those really good weeks.
Yeah, just you never know.
Yeah.
But I did want to mention something that I bought, and it was the same thing like that guy with the tobacco hat, and lots of people we hear about on eBay. I was looking for some rubber stamps because whatever. We used to use rubber stamps when we were little. My mom owned a rubber stamp company, all this stuff. So I've been looking at stamps. And so I saw this stamp and I was like, I used to have that exact stamp set. It's just this little crafter stamp set. I recognized the image. And then I went to this woman's store and she had all of them. And I emailed my sister. I'm like, remember these? We used to have these.
And for people that are hearing this, they might be like me. I had no idea what rubber stamps are about. But basically, it's just when some people, they send you a letter or something.
They put little stamps
teachers.
on it. Yeah, teachers.
I think of teachers. They put little stamps good job.
Yeah.
Or, a little bird.
But I will say there's a big movement with crafters. And now it's scrapbookers. We weren't into scrapbooking, but we would make mail art and stuff like that. And so whatever. So we were into that stuff. And my mom was a crafter. So it was funny because I had that same feeling that someone has in our store where I was like, I need to buy all of these because I want them and I want to use them. And it totally reminds me of being a little kid, doing little craft projects. So I bought half of them because they were kind of expensive.
$1 a piece.
They were $1 a piece, and she had 25 of them, and they're these cheap little, tiny little stamps.
But she had you by the hook.
Well,
she had her hooks in you.
Well, I didn't buy 25. I bought 8 of them.
Right.
So, but yeah, so I had that same thing where I'm like, that's the exact thing I had when I was a kid. I would love to have that again. And she was the only person on eBay I could find that had them. So that was fun.
And then another cool thing that was all me, this guy right here, I saw it and it sold, was this. It was a wood carving. It was a piece of flat wood.
It was pine.
Pine. And someone, probably some grandpa or something, had carved on the surface.
It was like a wood burning. Is that what they're called? Like a wood burning carving.
2 kids kneeling and praying. And then, he colored it. Yeah. And I mean, basically we would call it a primitive or folk art.
Yeah, like folk
outsider art. It was, I basically got it almost free. Yeah. It was like just in a pile and no one wanted this thing. And, but it's just so cool.
It's just funny.
So unique, So
we sold it for $30, which is a great price for something like that. I was thinking, what were they searching for? Like, what was it on eBay that they were like, I need a piece of, like, primitive folk art with
praying children.
What were they looking for?
And
they found that and they bought it.
I guess I just get excited by stuff like that, and that's what makes this job exciting for us, rather than selling something pretty
mass-produced
generic.
Or whatever.
Just like you're putting something in someone's house
that's one of a kind
that no one will ever have.
Yeah.
And that's exciting to me.
It's really, I felt that way about several sales where you're just like, it's just so interesting that someone was like, I want that. I've been looking for that.
Well, I'm glad. And that's one reason why we like eBay, because it is about a lot of these weird, like one-of-a-kind items. eBay has, just like Amazon does, you can buy whatever, lots of Chinese-made products, all that. It's all good. But I like eBay because that's where people go for this kind of stuff. Like, you could not buy something like this on Amazon. Right.
Right.
And I love that. And I also like it because, who knows who made this thing? I don't know.
It wasn't signed.
The guy could be dead. Who knows? But he put time into it.
Yeah.
And now it's surviving.
And someone wanted
it. Would have been thrown away.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So hopefully it will be put in someone's home and then be passed on.
Yeah.
Archaeologists, Ryan.
Kind of, yeah.
Our coming week, as we said, we're about to hop on a plane tomorrow for Colombia.
Yes.
And we're going to be there for 10 days.
For a tech job.
Super excited. It's just how a lot of these trips are. They're great because the trips are paid for by the people we're working for. Right. Which is great for us. But the first half of our trip is always very stressful.
It's work.
Because it's work and people are counting on us and we have a lot of it's responsibility. Cool. And then afterwards we're going to go and visit friends.
Yay.
In
Medellin.
In Medellin, yeah. And we'll do our podcast from there.
And hopefully I'm going to bring this recorder so we can record.
Yeah.
The interview, hopefully.
What's interesting, though, is that, this is really what my dream of my life was when I was younger. Like, oh yeah, like I know. It's like I traveled a lot when I was younger because I loved to travel, but it was always like the kind of like scraping by kind of traveling and having to get home to work more, to travel more. But it's really amazing to think like this is our life. And sometimes I think I'm not grateful enough. I'm thinking like, it's another trip. I'm like, we're going to Colombia.
I know, it's crazy. Amazing. I know, it's really, I think sometimes it's not that we take it for granted. It's just, I think the stress of the job, because it's a pretty stressful job because people depend on us to do something very, very specific that has to get done and has to get done right. So for me, that overshadows it a little bit at first. And then we're there and we're like, this is incredible. Like, I can't believe someone paid us to, like, travel everywhere.
Yeah. So I've got to be more grateful that we can do this for sure. Yeah. So that's our week. We elicited a bunch. We took a bunch of pictures. It's this week, and now we'll see if our strategy of selling works. We're going to keep our store open.
Yes, our store is open. We have changed our handling time.
Right. Anyone new hearing this is how we do it. We go on these trips. Sometimes we go 10 days. Sometimes we go 6 weeks. And this is what we do. And this is totally illegal and by the book. eBay will back you up. Okay. We change our handling time.
And I also have, since I have an HTML template, I changed the banner on our page just in case people see that.
That says we're away. We'll ship when we get back. And then as soon as someone buys something, we send them a message. And we can
eBay.
And we can do that from wherever we are.
Yeah.
And some people, 1 in 10 people say, oh, you're going to be gone that long? Cancel it. Right. But 9 of 10 people are like, okay, thanks, no problem.
Like today, some guy bought 2 pairs of pants, and they're a very specific size that's hard to get. and for these types of pants. And I was like, oh man, we haven't left yet, but we can't get inventory because we're just like about to walk out the door. And I was like, oh, we're on a trip. And he's like, yep, no problem. I've been trying to find these pants forever, so I'll wait 2 weeks. I'm like, yes.
And because we change our handling time, if they complain or leave bad feedback because it took so long, eBay will take it off.
Right.
Because it's very clear.
Yeah, it says you're going to get this, in 2.5 weeks.
So we will see if our front loading of a listing our inventory, if we can sell stuff while
we're away.
That's
usually we do. Usually we do fine.
We never like to turn off the store.
And what I have been doing lately is giving a buffer of a few days.
Thanks to a very smart person on the blog who I forgot his name.
You're like, or her name. Yes, someone on the blog was like, you shouldn't say you're coming on, date X. Say you're coming home to ship, 2 or 3 days later, so you get most of it out. And because people will be like, you said you were shipping today. And I'm like, I just got home. It's like, give yourself like 3 days to, have a buffer. So I've been doing that.
So customer problems, issues. We talked about the people that were buying and canceling, those 2 people. Then we also got a pair of glasses back, right? Or did we talk about that?
Well, last week someone started a hassle-free return for a pair of Christian Dior eyeglasses frames, and they just said they got a better price, which is, I've never had that.
But the interesting thing was they shipped it just on their own, $5, and then we have a $20 restocking fee. So for this
20% restocking fee.
So for her to mail these things back, she lost whatever.
Yeah, she paid $6 to ship them back, even though it was a first class return label, which would have cost her $2 or something. Right. And then the restocking fee, because they were $80 glasses, was $16. And it's just, I guess people just don't realize that they're gonna lose that money, or they don't care.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and people have asked us about because it is weird. You're putting in 20% restocking fee. We have not had one person complain yet. Although we haven't really had a lot of returns.
It's just a handful, but.
I guess people are just I want to return it. We're like, that's cool. It's just going to cost you because of the trouble and time and keeping this item off the market when it could have sold to someone else.
You got to relist it, put it back in your inventory, all that stuff. I mean, I returned something that I had bought, and they had a 10% restocking fee, but I was the same way. I was like, I don't care. It's not the right thing for me. I want them to resell it. I don't want to sell it, and I want the majority of my money back. Right. So I was fine with that. I was like, whatever.
So that was good.
Yeah.
So as far as news goes, there was we had one person put it on the blog, and then we had 3 people email us.
And I'm sure we're going to get 5 more people emailing us about this article.
It's a Wired article.
Yeah.
And it's so cool that people thought of us when they saw this. And this guy in Austin, Texas.
Yep.
And he's a high-end scavenger is what they call them.
Right.
And he would just drive around to the big box stores and electronic stores, and he would pull out
brand new stuff.
Stuff that it's returned or the box is damaged, but basically it's new. Computers, servers.
What I don't understand is I've seen this in some places where I've been to thrift stores and I've seen these products. Why don't those companies donate them? Why do they just throw them in the garbage?
Well, here's my 2 cents. I think the number, we're talking about huge big box stores. Right. It's just not worth it for them to screw around with such
donations,
small amounts of things.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is too, a lot of times they do, it's clearance.
Right.
So the stuff that might end up in the garbage is the stuff they can't even sell
on clearance.
80% off, and it's and that's more about space.
Right.
And number 3 is I think there are more and more stores that are sending. There are businesses now that will sell that kind of stuff, so you can go online and buy auctions, so that you can buy a lot of
a pallet of...
Yeah, a pallet of all these electronics that someone returned. We don't know if they work or not.
Right.
And so I think that there's now this market for that kind of stuff. But I mean,
it sounds like there are still some places.
I'm always a little skeptical of articles like that because, I mean, he was just like, yeah, I just made $10,000, you know. I don't know if it's quite that easy. I mean, and if that is true, he's going to have a lot of competition. Like,
and now.
Right now, there are guys who are like,
I'm in the back of the Austin, you know,
but one
Best
thing
Buy.
he did talk about that we've heard of, because we have friends that dumpster dive.
Yeah.
A lot of these big companies now use compactors. So it's not just a dumpster where
you just jump in.
They're compactors, so they throw stuff in there and then
they
it crushes it. And they do that because it's cheaper for their tipping fees.
Throw it away.
Because they can put more stuff in there. But it's bad, too, because then,
it's destroyed.
Everything in there gets destroyed.
And a lot of the dumpsters, like, we had a lot of friends who were dumpster diving at Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, like, just for not selling it at a store.
Right. just to eat it,
eating it. And they would put locks on their dumpsters. Yeah. So at night they'd go and one of our friends would cut the locks.
Right.
He was like, screw you.
He said, though, that Whole Foods started to have those compactor dumpsters, and they don't just have, like, a padlock. It's like, you know, it's got a huge bolt on it that you can't get in. But, you know, I don't think it's overstating it. It just does feel like a sign of a a society that has a real illness.
Right.
If there's a reason that people think it's smart to throw away either perfectly acceptable food or perfectly acceptable items that can be used. Like, there's something wrong that businesses feel like that's okay.
That is an acceptable outcome for your, you know, leftovers.
Like we can afford that. That's just very strange.
Like, how can we live in a country that, like, it's actually easier, faster, and cheaper to just trash it than to, like, do something useful with it. That's insane.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem
that's like why we exist as a business. I mean, and, you know, like, that's why these articles are amazing.
It just doesn't seem like that is something that can last for a long time.
That's like the downfall of a civilization,
like there's
basically.
Something wrong,
So anyway,
we're all dead.
No, it's not that bad yet. So that was it. That was a great article. It is very inspiring, though, to think like, hey, you can just pull this stuff out for free and sell it.
And it will link to that article on the blog. It's this week.
Also, this is an awesome link that I will link to. Nancy from thirdhandshop.blogspot.com. She comments on the blog quite a bit. She heard how I was having trouble with figuring out how to exclude certain countries from global shipping.
And let me just quickly explain why we wanted to do this. You know, we're big proponents of the global shipping program. Right. Even though a lot of people complain about it, we love it. However, we wanted to do an experiment to see if we could just take out like Canada and England.
Right.
Those are the two countries.
Right. So I wanted to be able to, because I have had a few Canadian people be like, why can't you just ship this regular? Like, it's cheaper and whatever. So I'm like, how do I do that? So the thing was, I knew how to do it on the listing. I knew how to be like, if it's not global shipping, you know, exclude Canada. But for some reason, there was like, you know, an overall setting somewhere. I couldn't figure out where it was to tell global shipping to look at that, to not like override the setting. And Nancy showed me where it was. So
because there was like a separate link.
Yeah. It's your setting, it's your shipping like site preferences, which is in another part of like my eBay.
Right.
It's typical eBay where it's completely buried. It's this tiny link. You would never know. Right. So thank God that she made that video because I could not figure it out.
So we'll link to that too, and that's just if maybe you want to do an experiment, it's like us. Like we love global shipping to countries like it's Russia, or,
just random
wherever
places.
South America, but Canada, we'll take that risk with first class.
Yeah,
you know?
And use ShipSaver insurance because they'll cover if it's not delivered.
Yeah,
that's what I've heard.
Have the WeBulk edited that yet?
Okay, so here's the weird thing. I didn't have to bulk edit it. I think once you just do it on some listings, it just starts to do it. Because those shoes that sold and the lady was like, cancel immediately, that was first class to England, and I hadn't changed it on shoes. I had just done it on like some new listings. So I don't know how it's actually functioning, to be quite honest.
And the only reason why we did it was we want to see if we sell more to Canada. We actually sell quite a bit overseas, so I want to see if we sell more. So far, we haven't really sold anything.
Yeah, so I don't know when it's going to kick in. Come on, Canadian buyers, buy some stuff. So we are going to take some voicemail calls. Hooray!
Hi, Jay and Ryan. My name is Scott, and I'm with Got It For You on Amazon and eBay. My question is, I'm trying to figure out how to send somebody a prepaid return label. As an example, they bought something, they want to send it back, it's not their fault, so give them a prepaid return label so that it doesn't cost them anything. And it's driving me crazy. I just don't know how to do that. Also, just a little something for your mom, Ryan. I think I'm her age because I remember culottes also. So you might want to ask her a question. Does she like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones better? Thanks. Bye.
First, I want to address the last question. Does my mom like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones better? And the answer is she loves the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, your mom definitely is.
She's such a Rolling Stones person. But I will say her favorite band is Aerosmith. So that's...
But he's asking a very good eBay question because it's one that I've asked too.
Yeah.
So on Amazon, I think you can actually send someone...
a return label?
I don't know if that's true.
I think you request a return and Amazon just makes it for you.
Well, it seems like on eBay, I mean...
You can't make one.
Process like?
I don't know. I mean, I know through Hassle Free, they can just, like, request a return, print a label. Like, it doesn't... There's nothing. But if you don't have Hassle Free turned on, I have no idea how you would do that. And you know what? You should call eBay because they can tell you.
But so we have Hassle Free turned on.
Yeah.
If you want to... So there's no way if someone's like, I want to return this, I'm confused. There's no way to just send them a label. Do it for them? No. See, I think that's something they should turn on.
Absolutely, they should turn it on. But here's the thing. Hassle-free returns is going to be mandatory whenever. I don't know when, like soon.
Right, probably next year, next Christmas.
And if the buyer can't figure it out, it's just like with Amazon.
Right.
If you can't figure out how to print out your return label, what can anybody do? Like you just have to.
Didn't you call eBay once and they make a label for you? Yeah.
But I was the buyer, and I was returning something not as described.
And they didn't have Hassle-Free turned on.
No, and I was requesting a return, and they couldn't figure out how to, like, honor the request. So I called eBay, and I knew. I was like, they can't figure out how to do this. And I want a return label because it's not as described. So eBay actually emailed me one.
Wow.
Which apparently is doable.
So, I mean, they're able to do it.
Yeah.
The other question I have is, I've seen this with some companies. I think some sellers on Amazon do this, and I've seen it through other services too, where you'll get an item, like a pair of shoes, and they'll actually send you a return label already. Like when they print that out, are they paying for it?
No, it's only paid for if it's been scanned. Like scanned and returned to you. Gotcha. Like they're not paying for a label every time.
Because, I mean, not that I would want to do that, but that would be an interesting service too for eBay to allow. Like when you print out its receipt that goes in the box, it would print out like a label, and someone could then just slap it on there.
Yeah, but you don't want to encourage people to return stuff. Like, oh, here's a label. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Like, oh god.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another call.
Okay.
Hello, here's my question. I've wondered this for a long time, and I don't know if anyone's touched on it before that I know of. I have a few items that are up for buy it now with best offer, but nothing's been happening. They haven't been moving, or just not much has been happening on them as far as activity, just a little bit. I'm wondering if my buy it now price is too high, even though they can make a best offer. Does it make sense to lower my buy it now price? Will that make it look more appealing and not kind of scare them off with the higher price? I'm wondering if that has worked for you. Thank you very much. I really enjoy your podcast. Bye-bye.
Okay, so buy it now with best offer. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good to price it a little bit higher because you want to be able to take a lower offer and still be okay with it.
I mean, I think there's a couple things that I would have to ask myself first. Is like, how long are we talking about? Like the item's been up for a month, a year. You know?
How long?
I mean, in our world, we have a very long horizon. As I like to say. I mean, something has to be online in our store for a year before we start to question it. Like, I wonder if that's too high. Because if we're selling something strange and weird or just one-of-a-kind vintage kind of thing, I don't expect it to sell inside of a month just because the number of people wanting to buy that are so few.
It's so small.
These are like long-tail items, as you like to say. The things on the long tail of the graph of popularity.
We're not selling iPhones.
So, if it's only been there for a month, 2 months, 3 months, I wouldn't even think. I wouldn't even think about it.
Exactly.
And we list it and forget it. I mean, we do that so we don't do what it's women's doing, where we're questioning and stressing. We just say, okay, this is up for a year at this price, best offer, see you later.
Yeah.
And then we always get happy when it sells. We're like, oh, look, it's sold.
I can't believe it.
I mean, the other thing is, if you've done the research, as we always say, I mean, what people pay for those things.
Yeah. So is it the right price or not? Like, it's the research.
I mean, we do encourage other people, because we do this. If we have a good item and good, it's good quality, we'll price it at the higher end of the spectrum.
Because we have better stuff than other people.
And because we feel like we present it better photos and description. And so if you've done that, then you just have to be good about it. And just instead of worrying about the stuff you have up, just focus on listing more stuff.
Yeah.
That's our thing.
And like we say, I mean, it really depends on how many items do you have. I mean, for us, we are almost at the 4,000 mark. So for me to be like, that one item I never ever do that. I never ever do that because we have so much stuff. Yeah. It's like, that would be insane.
I mean, every once in a while we'll be like, that thing's been up for a couple of years now. Maybe
I should slash that price. That happens very rarely, though, because then I look at the price and I'm like, nope, that's the right price.
I mean, the other thing is, some weird item. The thing is, if someone doesn't want to buy it at $50, I don't think someone's going to buy it at $30, just because there just isn't that person online trying to find that thing.
Right, at that moment.
Like, the idea is that there's like all these people just watching this thing, and as soon as the price comes down, they all jump on it.
Right.
That's not how it works,
Yeah.
And if you want to try the experiment, do what we've done. We've at times in the past put like a 20% sale on our entire store, hoping to boost sales. We never saw a boost in sales.
Yeah.
People just bought like they normally did, but
they got a cheaper price.
They just got stuff cheaper. So do that experiment.
Hey, Jay and Ryan, this is Henry. I've been an eBayer a little over a year now. I have about 150, 160 listings. I was wondering, other than the limited amount of sales on the Bonanza, is there any other reason why it would be not advisable to go ahead and put your items on Bonanza? Just wondering if there's anything else. Love the podcast. I love the positive. The positive is the right word, because I had a very slow week, and it's not good, but at least I know eBay didn't shut me down. So I appreciate it. I listen to all your podcasts over and over again. So always learn something. But anyway, I appreciate it. And this phone call is ending in 3, 2, 1. Later. Keep it going.
Good. It's a question. Like, Crystal Coin Guy is the one that kind of seeded this idea, Bonanza. It was his interview that kind of got us to do it, and we told other people about it, and so it's cool. It seems like a lot of people are doing it. And the great thing is that it's all automated. So once you sign up...
Yeah, your store is synced, or your listings, I don't know if it's a store, but your listings sync up. So when I sell something on eBay, it goes away from Bonanza, which is very helpful.
And then once we're hooked up like that, as we list stuff in eBay, it automatically gets sucked into Bonanza.
But as I always say, if you sell something on Bonanza, make sure you go and end it on eBay so you don't sell it twice.
But what his question is,
yes.
I think is a good one.
Right.
So Crystal Coin Guy said, if you don't have 500 or 1,000 things at your store, Bonanza is not going to really make sense because you aren't going to sell a lot. So if you have a small store, you probably won't sell anything. But you know what? If you have a small store, it doesn't cost you anything. You might as well
do it. Just sync it up. I mean, we sell like 1 to maybe 2 items a week on Bonanza.
Really? That much?
Yeah, we do. Oh. And sometimes it's a $30, $40, $50 item. Right. So that, I'm like, great.
But, it's for us too. We're selling like 200 to 300 things on eBay a month. So that means we're selling, 5 to 10 things on
maybe
Bonanza.
10.
So then you kind of see
it's a difference.
If you have only 150 things at your store,
you might sell 1 thing a month.
You'll be lucky to.
So I like it.
But try it.
I like it.
It's cost free.
Yeah.
Hi Jay. Hi Ryan. This is Mark. Love your guys' podcast. I have a question on taxes. This is my second year of being on eBay. I'm just starting my second year, and I just got my 1099 from PayPal, and I had a good first year. It's $85,000, and it just kind of freaked me out. I really didn't prepare last year for taxes as well as I should have, and I don't know if you've done a show on taxes or if you can kind of go over it a little bit. I have looked on your page, and you have a tax link for GoDaddy and all that. I haven't signed up for that, but if you could do a show on that or just touch on that, I think it would help, because right now my stress level is pretty high, and I think I need to go drink a 12-pack. Thanks for your podcast. Love it. Bye.
So this is a great question, and, the bad news is you better be freaked out.
Yeah.
That's how we were when we, had that. I think it was like our second year, we realized we made a lot of money. I mean, making $85,000 through PayPal, that's...
Now, I will say...
That's a great year for you.
You should be able to see your shipping costs, though. Like if you break it down, that 1099 from PayPal includes all money for shipping. So that could be, $10,000.
Right. So, but the thing is, though... If you haven't, paid your estimated taxes or been paying taxes throughout a year every quarter, you potentially could have a big hit coming.
Huge.
And that's what happened to us, that we, got this. We're like, oh my God, we haven't paid taxes. We had to pay tax on this. And that's when we learned, we had to actually set up our eBay store as kind of a business. We had to start thinking of it like that and start breaking down all the expenses. Now, you mentioned we do have a long post, and there's a big button.
We did do an episode on taxes, too.
Right in our store about taxes, and it's about GoDaddy bookkeeping. Now, when we made that, GoDaddy bookkeeping was free at the time.
Yeah.
They're now charging, I think, $9.99 a month.
Right.
Although if you kind of do some searches, they have coupons, and you can get it cheaper.
Yeah.
We love it because, and it's really one of the only paid services we use. We love it because it helps us break down our expenses and keep track of that month to month.
I could not do any of our expenses without that. I mean, it's just like we hook up our PayPal debit and we hook up our eBay store and we hook up every account we have so that we can just show all the expenses, and then I just, at the end of the year, I just spit it out and I give it to our accountant.
And some people talk about they use Quicken, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a similar thing.
These other kind of things, and that's cool. The only cool thing we like about GoDaddy is, and I don't know if these other programs do that, is that it can suck in your actual eBay and PayPal account.
Right.
Not just bank accounts and credit cards.
Yeah.
And they kind of tailor the program to
online sellers.
People who sell online and Amazon too.
Right.
So quickly for you, talk about your process. So at the end of every month, you
go. So I do it on the first of the month, because then everything's gone through for the month before. I go through GoDaddy and see, because you can teach GoDaddy if you see a transaction from Goodwill
in Charlottesville,
okay, that is always merchandise. So that stuff is automatically categorized. If it's a eBay sale, that's categorized. But sometimes you'll have a check or you'll have a thing, when you were traveling, so it doesn't recognize those. So I go in and I categorize everything and just make sure that everything is expensed correctly.
But because you do it at the first of every month, it takes you about an hour.
Yeah, less than an hour. I mean, it takes I actually, because we have such a small local bank that doesn't sync up, I have to import my CSV from the bank. So that takes a little bit more time, but it literally takes me like a half an hour.
But because Ryan's doing it at the beginning of every month, now we just did our yearly taxes expenses to give to our accountant, and how long did that take?
That took me, I would say, max an hour.
Right. Which
before I did this was a freaking nightmare.
Because you were trying to do the whole year.
Oh, it was horrible, horrible.
So, these are the good things, you learn through, desperation. And so we sound all professional just because we've had those years where we've struggled and fought.
And freaked out.
And the cool thing is, again, GoDaddy and maybe other services do this too. I would love to hear what people use. It spits out a worksheet that we then give our accountant.
Yeah, it's a spreadsheet.
And he loves us. He's like, wow. As most people are just bringing in a box of it's receipts. So this is great.
Yeah. So I love it. It keeps everything organized, and I feel much better about doing our taxes when I can just hand him all our crazy expenses.
And the other good thing is that we, GoDaddy tells you, based on because we're putting in our expenses and our income month to month, it tells us estimates how much taxes we're going to owe. So we are never,
freaked out.
We aren't ambushed by that.
Yeah.
So we know how much we owe in taxes.
So I will say this, it is a little bit crazy that you didn't keep track of your stuff and you made $85,000 through eBay. I really hope you have an accountant, because you're going to have to figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, we're not trying to say you're screwed. I'm just trying to tell you, you got to step up.
Yeah.
If you're making a lot of money, this is not like you're running a yard sale. You have a real business, and you have to treat it like it, and the IRS is going to treat it like it. Yeah. And I bet if you just put your head down, put in a week of time, find a good local accountant, you'll be fine. But, because it's so crazy now, next year or this current year we're in now,
you'll be organized.
Just do it month to month.
You'll be fine.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Ellie. I sometimes comment on the blog, but I thought it would be easier to just call you with my question. I recently sold 2 vintage green glass plates, and the customer got a discount. I took a best offer, and she claims that one of the plates has a chip, which we did not see and did not photograph, and who knows when it happened. Then I told her she could return one of the plates for a partial refund, and she said she didn't want to do that because it'd be too much trouble, and I asked for a photo, and she doesn't want a photo either. But she's really pressing for some sort of refund. But there's no photo. I don't know what to do. I don't want to just take her word on it. What do you guys think? Thank you.
Oh, I know Jay has an opinion here.
No, okay. If you have 3 choices here.
Yeah.
Number 1 is you just don't want the hassle. I don't know how much money we're talking about.
Right.
Is it, $10, $12. You can just give her the refund and just be done with it.
Right. And that's choice number 1.
Yeah. Number 2 is, call eBay.
Yeah.
Tell them, I want to give a refund, but I want some kind of proof. Because if not, it's almost like it's a threat almost.
Yeah.
Give me a refund.
You better give me a refund, but I'm not going to prove to you that it's broken.
Number 3 is, you can just say, you know what? Return it for a refund. And make the buyer
return it.
Go through the process of returning something that she says is broken.
Yep.
And she'll get a full refund,
Right.
And so those are really the 3 things.
Those are the things that you do.
And, I kind of I kind of go back between all 3 of those. Depending on the circumstance.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's kind of it depends on how the person writes the email and how they're approaching me. Does it feel like they're being overly aggressive
or if they're being super, super nice about it. It really depends.
Or is it like a grandma that like can't send a photo because she doesn't own a phone, that takes photos? Like that's very possible.
I've had that happen. So I think those are good choices.
But all those choices though for us it's not about antagonism,
Right.
Like we never get into fights with people, the third one of just like send it back. I will take a return, send it back. Then you're just quiet because eBay will respect that you're willing to take the return, but the buyer has to do something to send you the item back.
Exactly. Exactly. Those are good choices.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Jamie. I have a question for you guys. Yesterday I had a buyer want to buy 2 items from me and message me and ask me if I could do combined shipping, which of course I said yes. Then she asked me to send her an invoice. Well, since I couldn't do that because it was a buy it now, pay immediately, I just sent her an offer on the one item and then asked her to send me a message on the other item as well so I can send her an offer. That way she could accept those offers and then I could send her an invoice and adjust the shipping accordingly. So I guess my question for you guys is, I couldn't find an easier way to do this other than what I just explained, other than having her pay full price for both the items and doing a partial refund through PayPal for the shipping. So I was just wondering if there was an easier way that I was maybe missing, I was just wondering how you guys do your combined shipping on your buy it now items when you have the immediate pay. Thanks a lot. I love you guys' podcast. Thank you. Bye.
So you basically did the only possible thing that you can do to combine shipping on weird certain items. That's exactly how I would do it too. Either make an offer on the item if it has make offer, or send them an offer through the messages, which you can do now, and then do a combined invoice. I'm really glad that eBay is doing that send an offer through, a message, because that allows you to do the combined shipping. Because right now, if someone's like, I want to buy this plate and this jacket, you're like, how could I possibly combine these in a way that makes sense, like through the eBay combined shipping system? Like there isn't a way to do it.
I mean, I don't know enough about this to be an expert, so I'm not. I know eBay allows you to make rules,
right?
Shipping rules, but for people like us, it doesn't make sense. It's like if you buy 3, the third one's free.
Right? Like those shipping rules make sense when you're buying like air filters for your whatever,
or if we sell like ink cartridges, like
50 cents for the extra one to ship it if you do.
But if someone wants to buy a lamp and a jacket and a plate, how do you easily make a rule for that? So
it's just not...
that's where mainly what we do is we just get into conversation with people, and often it's what it is buy it all,
right,
at full price,
right.
Or we'll take off the pay now,
right.
But buy them all, and then we will send you an invoice
with the
new,
like I'll weigh it all cost. And whatever. Yeah. So that's pretty much how you have to do it. Yeah. And like Jay said, if I get a list of stuff from the person, which is also insane, you're like, please give me all the item numbers.
And people are like copying and pasting
it's ridiculous.
All these
it's so stupid.
Item numbers.
And then you have to take off pay immediately so that they can purchase it, and then you send them the combined invoice. It's like, I have seen this when I've been buying stuff from people that, if you put a bunch of stuff in your cart from one seller, there is a link that says request total from seller, but you have to have something checked on the listings to make that possible. Because every time I try to do it, it's like, this person doesn't have combined shipping rules. And you're like, well, of course not, because they're selling me 5 different totally wacky things. So why would you have the rules? So my opinion is eBay needs to make that easier. You have to be able to request a total from a seller selling weird stuff. A book, a jacket, a plate, a whatever.
Right.
You know? So, I agree. It's weird. But you did the best thing you could possibly do, and you did it correctly.
Hey, Ryan and Jay. My name's Rachel. I live in Clearwater, Florida, and I've been selling on eBay casually for about 10 years. I recently showed my partner how to sell on eBay, and we're making great strides. We specialize in video games, gaming memorabilia, small electronics, computer parts recycling, and recently started expanding to other unique items that we find at garage sales and thrift stores. I found your podcast on YouTube a couple months ago, and I really love your approach. It gives me a lot of hope that I can quit my job in IT one day and be my own boss. So my question for you guys is, recently I received an email from eBay that read, here's how we protected your selling account. Thanks for consistently delivering exceptional service to your buyers. We're here to provide you a marketplace where you can sell with confidence. That's why we've taken the following steps during the past month to protect your account. The first bullet point is automatically set 93 of your detailed seller ratings to 5 stars from qualifying transactions. The second one, which caused some concern, was prevented 4 eBay money-back guarantee requests from being opened too early in the past 2 months. And it goes on to say how it's already updated the information, your seller dashboard, yada, yada, yada. I went to the boards, and it's a conspiracy theory as usual. Do you have any input on these kind of vague emails from eBay? The prevention of 4 eBay money-back guarantees concerns me that maybe we're falling short on customer service. And I'm just wondering if you guys had, any idea of, what kind of things eBay is talking about in this situation. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so we also got that. We actually got that same email the day that you called in.
I think they send them out every
couple months or something?
I don't know. They don't seem very consistent, but we've gotten those emails before, and I mean, she makes a good point. It's like
it's so vague.
It's like, so you did what? I mean, can there be a link? Like, what items were these?
Yeah, I wish they had the item numbers, because they're like, we prevented these people from returning these items or whatever they say, and you're like, when did that happen?
Well, so I'm going to break it apart. A couple of them are like, we took away 2 negative feedbacks. Yeah, and those are easy because those are ones that we called in,
right,
and fought,
right,
and they took them off. So
you didn't do anything.
So it's like they didn't really do us any favors. We had to actually do the work to do that. I mean, I've never seen that I can remember eBay taking something away without us asking for them to do it.
The other thing that I also know, if you have global shipping on, sometimes they don't show you when someone opens up I didn't get this, because they automatically deal with it, so then they count that in the email too, and you're like, well, you didn't show it to me in the first place, so why are you showing it to me now?
Right.
Freaking me out.
I mean, the other thing is where it says is we stop someone from starting a return. I think what that is if someone gets an item, so they open up the package, it just comes to the mail, they open up the package, like, oh, I want to start a return. eBay has a time frame. You have to wait
7 days or something.
7 days. So it's almost like eBay wants to slow down the return process because they want the buyer to not have immediate buyer's sadness,
It's like when people, and Mikey dealt with this a lot too, where they'd be like, this doesn't work, and you're like, dude, you're not using it right. And then they're like, oh, I see. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Put some batteries in.
Yeah, there are no batteries in it.
But hasn't it happened to you where we bought something, we realize we don't want it, and you try to start a return.
And you have to wait a few days.
But it says something to you, right? It says, wait.
Yeah, it's it gives you some kind of prompt.
So I feel like that might be that thing that they're counting, is that they've just have a rule where someone can't start a return right away.
Right. The other one that I don't understand, that I wish they would explain better, is we took off low DSRs, And, they're like, oh, we took away all these, like, low DSR ratings. They don't explain why. They don't tell you what items. And in my thing, I'm like, is it because they just expired? That they're like, year's up and those low DSRs are gone now. You're like, you took them off because you have to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But, the person calling, she sounds like we are. Kind of techie people.
This?
We all like graphs and we like
information.
And if you use something like Google or Google and Analytics, it's really easy to dig down deep. It's just so strange that eBay, this huge billion-dollar
tech company,
with all these engineers that work for them, they haven't by now figured out a way to make these into graphs with links and make it very transparent.
Yeah, I wish that eBay, and now people are like, there's a third-party app for that, like whatever, those analytics that they have. It's, number one, horrible.
Right.
And the last time I used it, which was like 2009, it would take them like a month to get the data. So you're like, what's my most popular item this month? Well, I don't know because it's already gone and it's
like you have to... It's requested, and then they send it to you.
It's just horrible.
In the future.
Anyone who's ever used Google Analytics or just site stats,
right?
I should know. Like, are people in Illinois like looking at my shoes every day? I should know that. That would be an interesting stat to know.
Right.
Like, where are the most sales I've had? You know?
I mean, we're going down a rabbit hole here, but
yeah, that is
even like with the DSRs, when you look at what items have a low DSRs, they actually don't put a link to it. Like you have to copy and paste the item number to see which one they're talking about.
And bring it into your email.
Right.
I don't see any other way to do it if it's, more than, whatever, 90 days old.
I mean...
It's just, you're like, at least put the title in and the username.
But net to that kind of email, I wouldn't worry about it.
Yeah, I literally just deleted it. I'm like, oh, great.
Or, if you're really concerned, just call eBay and have them make them explain it to you.
Yeah,
but
totally.
We don't really worry about it. If you feel like, we should each know if we're doing good customer service or not. Like, it shouldn't be a mystery. Like, we know we're good to customers because we are.
We try to be good to customers. So, I'll just say this, that I am the worst buyer on eBay. I am the worst buyer because when people don't treat me right, I am like the first one to let them know too. I'm just like, I'm actually a seller and I don't appreciate this.
Yeah, I guess just because we know
how you're supposed to treat customers, Yeah. Anyway, I am very glad that people called. I loved the phone calls. Please call more. And the number is 540-407-8486.
It feels like we have like a lot of friends with us.
It's awesome.
Rather than
I'm
just
like
us in our in
our little house with our cats. I love it because Google Voice emails us when there's a voicemail, so we both automatically go listen to it, like right when people call,
and then start talking about it.
We're like, "Oh, let me answer this question," like 4 days before we record the podcast.
And if you hear this and you're overseas, we'd love to hear that too.
Yeah, if you have some Skype credit, you can call us.
These days, international calls
are cheap. It's like,
are they free?
A penny for 10 minutes or something.
Okay, so you can subscribe to us by email. Just go to the blog, and on the right-hand sidebar, you can put in your email, and any new episode will get emailed to you. Or in iTunes, you can go through iTunes as well.
Or YouTube.
Or YouTube. We're on YouTube as well.
YouTubers.
Yeah, and actually we're working on maybe something a little special. One of the listeners had a very good idea about, we now have a pretty big archive.
Yeah, this is episode 182.
So we're coming up on 200, and I guess I forget this on iTunes. They don't archive our entire history.
Right.
It's only like the past, 30 or something like that.
Yeah, something low.
So if you're just now finding us and you want to go back and hear us, it's not easy to find.
To download them all at once, basically.
Right. You can go to, it's always going to be free, but we're working on maybe trying to bundle it so it's easier, so you can just download one thing and it's all there.
And you're like, okay, I want to put everything in my iPod and listen to it instead of like download one by one. So we're working on that. Technically, it's a
bit of a side project and just something else we got to do. And so, but we're going to do it because we think it'd be neat.
Yeah, we think people might want that.
Okay, so you'll hear from us next when we're in Colombia. So, and it will sound very Colombian.
I doubt that very much.
All right, this podcast is ending in
3, 2, 1, bye.